afternoon. I wanted to talk with you today to address a few questions that have been asked of me, as well as to review a few procedures that we are following as we continue to move forward with this school year. But first and foremost, I want to thank everyone for making the start of this school year be a success. I know there were a few bumps in the road, but I appreciate everyone's cooperation to working through those and to make it work for all of us. Whether you're an online learner or you're in-person learning with us, you are working hard, and together we are accomplishing our goals and we're making this school year work. So thank you very much. Now, the first procedure we're going to discuss is the self-screening form. And thank you to everyone that is completing this self-screening form every morning and providing it when either you get on a school bus or you walk through our school doors. Now, if it is necessary that you mark yes, that your child is displaying one of these symptoms, your child has to stay home for the day, for that school day, but they also have to stay home for 10 days during those symptoms unless they get an alternative diagnosis from a doctor or if they get a COVID-19 test. The other procedure of that is every child in the home then also must stay home, and those other children must stay home for 14 days unless the sick child, again, gets an alternative diagnosis from a doctor or if they get a COVID-19 test. It's that procedure that all the other students that are students or children who live in the home have to stay home that is very frustrating for our families, and I understand it. I totally get that. That is very different than anything that we have done before. But that is the guidance that we're receiving from the Illinois Department of Public Health, and that is the guidance that we must follow. And that is the same during the school day. So if your child comes to the office and says that they're not feeling well and they're displaying one of the COVID-19 symptoms, then school nurse, the secretary of the building, and or the building principal may call you or will call you to come pick up your child, as well as all other children that live in that household. And that is where you get frustrated to have to come pick them up. And then when we tell you that the sick child has to stay home for 10 days and all the other siblings have to stay home for 14 days, the frustration really sets in. And I am asking, probably begging you, when you get that phone call and you have to pick up those children, please try to refrain from yelling, cussing, screaming at the individual that you're talking to. Our nurses, our secretaries, our principals are working unbelievably hard, and they are wanting to provide a quality education while keeping all the students safe. And the guidance is that when there is a sick child who's displaying one of the COVID-19 symptoms, that your child, as well as all the other siblings, have to go home. So we will work with you. We will make it work. But again, I beg you, please do not yell, cuss, scream at the person who's calling you. When you do pick up your child, you will receive this form that just says that they came to the office and what COVID symptom that they're displaying. And it goes down to say that the individual who is ill must quarantine or must stay home for 10 days unless they get an alternative diagnosis from a doctor or they get a negative COVID test. That is totally your option. We are not saying they have to get a COVID test. We are also not saying that they have to go to see a doctor. But that is an option to possibly get back to school sooner. If they go get a COVID test, there's a variety of places in the area in which they could get a COVID test. Recently, I know some individuals have gone to the JJK Center, and those tests are coming back in 24 to 48 hours. That's probably the quickest I'm seeing it again. If you go to and get a COVID test, you'll often get a phone call that says that the child is COVID negative, or you'll get a call to let you know if they're COVID positive or COVID negative. If they're COVID negative and you have not received any other documentation except the phone call, you can complete this verification of a negative COVID test and then return that to school. And the child who is ill, as well as all of the other siblings, then can return to school. So again, if you pick your child up from school and you get that phone call, you will get the sheet that explains what symptom they had and kind of the procedures that they have moving forward. Attached to that, you will also get the verification of a negative COVID test. And that if you get that, you can return this, and then everyone can return to school. If you would call them in ill and you did not get this form, then you just need to request that form from the building and we will be happy to provide it for you. But again, I know it's a new procedure when your child is sick, that they have to stay home for an extended period of time, as well as all other siblings in the home have to stay home. And that can be very frustrating, especially when you need to go to work. So again, we will work with you, and we appreciate your cooperation in the matter too. And if you have to call and you have to yell at somebody, please, I encourage you to call me and we will work through it, and I'll explain the guidance to you and kind of show you the guidance and determine how we will move forward. Our teachers have been phenomenal, working with the students who have to quarantine for a variety of reasons to allow them to remote into their classrooms. We provide Chromebooks, we provide all necessary supplies. So we will continue to provide that education for the students, but you will need to reach out to the teachers and we'll arrange that and make that work. But again, be looking for these forms, and I've also attached them to the email that I sent to you so you can review them and kind of so you anticipate what you will be receiving should your child become ill at school. Back to the self-screening form. Again, thank you if you've been completing this. The IDPH has recently changed their symptoms, so we've updated our symptom screening form. If you inadvertently use the other form, that's fine, but I encourage you to use the new form that's dated 9/22/2020. And what has happened is we've removed chills, and then we've added congestion, runny nose. We've also added diarrhea and then abdominal pain, from an unknown cause. So be attached to the email was also this updated screening form, and we will also, if you need copies of this, please reach out to the office and we will get them to you. So again, I encourage you to use the new form, but if you inadvertently use the other form, that is okay. Finally, I want to talk to you. You've obviously received a few emails from me on Friday as well as on Monday that we've had recent employees as well as students that have tested positive. We've had a total of 3 individuals who have tested COVID positive who had been in our schools. And our guidance has changed a little bit what we will do, especially in our youngest grades for our pre-K through 5 students if an individual will test positive. And in the guidance that I had said that if a student or classroom teacher is COVID positive, the entire class will be sent home. But then I went on to say it's anticipated the entire class would need to be quarantined. However, after we have lived through it and we had an individual that was COVID positive, we were very easily able to identify the students that would have had close contact with that individual. We knew exactly who needed to be quarantined. We know where the individual was sitting, who they were by, and we're fortunately to be able to know the students that needed to be quarantined and the students that didn't have to quarantine, and that we were able to keep the classroom open for the students to be in person, but then the students who had to go and quarantine, we were allow them to remote in. So that did change differently when we had to live through it. We were able to continue to keep our classrooms open with our after we've done all of our cleaning procedures as necessary, and then work it through. So the most importantly is really anytime we have an employee or a student in any grade that is COVID positive, it will be handled on a case-by-case basis to determine the number of individuals that would have to quarantine, or if it's necessary to send everybody home and teach the class remotely. And so again, as we deal with additional COVID positive individuals, we will take that on a case-by-case basis to make it work. Again, I appreciate and thank you for your cooperation. This is a very different school year, but when you come into our buildings, you see our students, our students and our teachers teaching and learning and having a wonderful time. And our students really are just being students. And so I applaud all the parents for working with us and making this work. I applaud all of our staff members for making this continue to be an enjoyable place for your child to come. As always, I am here. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to reach out. Have a great evening. Thank you. Bye-bye.